Caching. Even though Resolve might be able to play your file in real time, sometimes you will add a lot of effects to your file, like for example, color effects. So this image originally looked this way. So we added a lot of color effects. Then on top of the image, we added a title. So notice what needs to be done. When you hit play, Resolve will first need to apply all the color effects to your footage. Then on top of that, it will need to add the text or any other effects you added. Then it will play back the footage. And sometimes you'll find yourself in situations where your current system cannot handle the playback in real time. This is where you need to use caching. When you render cache, what you're simply telling Resolve is to create a new file. And this new file will have all the color effects and text effects and any other kinds of effects added to the file baked into the new file. So Resolve will simply have to play the new file without adding anything in real time. And of course, it will do that in the background. So let's say, for example, that Resolve cannot play this footage in real time and I need to create a cache. There are two steps to creating caches in Resolve. First, you need to tell Resolve what kind of file to create. So how large is the file and what's the codec used to create the new file. So to do that, I'll simply click on settings, and in the master settings section, if I scroll down, I have the optimize media and render cache section. The third option is render cache format. This is where you choose the format for your caches in Resolve. So currently it's set to ProRes 422HQ. I'll switch to ProRes 422LT because it's easier to play back on the system. And if you're on a PC, you can select DNX HRSQ, which is the equivalent for PCs. Let's get back to ProRes 422LT. And here I have some options related to caching. First, you can enable background caching after a certain number of seconds, so that whenever you do not use your timeline, for example, or edit for 5 seconds, Resolve will automatically start rendering cache. Then we have automatically cache transitions in user mode, so that whenever you set caching to user mode, which is something we will see in a minute, Resolve will automatically cache all transitions. You can also set Resolve to automatically cache composites, again in user mode, and automatically cache fusion effects in user mode. I'll leave everything as is and simply hit save. Nothing happened yet. All what happened now is that we told Resolve that whenever you render cache, this is the format you should use to render this cache. However, we need to enable caching. To do that, I'll simply go to playback, render cache, and here I have 3 options. None will not render any cache. Smart will let Resolve determine what and where to render cache. And finally, we have user. I'll select user and notice that now I have this red bar here that is being overtaken by a blue bar. The blue bar is the part where Resolve already rendered cache, and the red bar is the part where Resolve is still rendering cache. So if I play this part on top of the blue line here, the playback will be very smooth because Resolve will only playing a new file that it created in the background with all the color effects and text effects added to it. So it doesn't have to do any work in real time other than to play the new file. So I'll simply come back here and play, and the playback is very smooth. Note that you can also tell Resolve what to render. For example, I'll add this file here, and currently it doesn't have any effects. I'll go to color and change its colors a bit and come back to edit. Now, currently Resolve doesn't render cache for this because Resolve rendered the first part because in the settings we told Resolve to automatically render fusion composites. However, there is no fusion composite here, but I can still manually tell Resolve to render caching for this particular clip if it was hard to play. To do that, I'll right click and select render cache color output. When I click it, now Resolve just created this red bar, which means that it's rendering this file and it just finished rendering it. This will ensure that Resolve can always play your file smoothly, regardless of how many color effects, fusion effects, text effects, or any other type of effects you add to it. Now, if I right-click, beside Render Cache Color Output, you can select Render Cache Fusion Output. So it will render the effects coming from Fusion. You can set it to auto, on, or off. And this is simply caching in Resolve.